Welcome, everyone, to the Information's TITV. My name is Akash Pasricha. It is Thursday, and today on the show, we have got a busy lineup for you. Julia Hartz, the CEO of Eventbrite, is coming on the show. She is going to be speaking with our editor-in-chief, Jessica Lessin. We've also got the CEO of Hinge Health. That is, of course, the health tech company that went public earlier this year. It is making a big play into the wearable space, and I am excited for that conversation. We're then bringing on the CEO of Augment. He is also the entrepreneur that previously sold his business to Shopify for $2.5 billion. And we are also going to start things off with a discussion with our senior finance editor who wrote a column last night about how he thinks we could be at the peak of AI euphoria, especially in the stock market. I'm excited for that conversation. But before we get there, I want to highlight for you an op-ed that Vinod Khosla published in The Information yesterday. The headline is a question: are AI valuations bonkers? It really is a great piece because it gives us a detailed history of how exactly we got to this point where valuations have gotten so high and so rich, and yet Vinod makes the point that the lower valuations will not necessarily be the ones that will be good investments. He also explains the story from the point of view of all the limited partners and all these venture funds, what metrics they should be they are looking at, and how he sees venture capital as a whole changing over the next 10 years. It is a fascinating piece. I will link it in the show notes. And with that, I want to get to our first guest. Well, the markets have been a bit crazy lately, to say the least. Oracle shares jumping yesterday were just the latest data point to that effect. IPOs have also been making big swings lately. And last night, the Information senior finance editor, Ken Brown, put out a column that said that he thinks we could be at peak AI euphoria. And I want to bring on Ken to talk a bit more about what he meant. Ken, welcome to TITV. It's great to have you here.
Hi, Akash.
Okay, so lay it out for us. So are you calling the top, or what was the point you were trying to get across?
Oh, this one is going to come back to haunt me for years to come, right? No, look, it was just watching Oracle, the shares go up 36%, creating hundreds of billions of dollars in value because they said that they're going to have a whole bunch of revenue years down the road. And, so this is not in their earnings. This is not in any official document. This is years down the road. And then when you think about it, where's that revenue going to come from? It's going to come from businesses that are losing tons of money that need to raise tons of money. So it's crazy from the start, and then the deeper you look into it, it gets crazier. And so to see this thing go up the way it did, it just made me react, and that's what I wrote.
Now, it wasn't just Oracle, though. I mean, you were also pointing out that, the energy sector was also getting all excited about this.
Yeah. So like the whole bunch of stocks around data centers were up yesterday. Companies like Constellation Energy and Vistra and GE Vernova, which is, that makes gas power generators, among other things. They were all some of the top performers in the market yesterday. Again, it strains credibility to see that, a company like, GE Vernovas have done great because they make these gas turbines that can power data centers, but they have a backlog up until 2028, 2029. So it doesn't quite make sense because Oracle says they're going to be, making all this revenue in 2030. There may not be enough power around to get these data centers off the ground.
Okay. So I want to dive a little bit more into the power piece of this, but I guess one thing, broadly speaking, of what I've been thinking about is, okay, if we are at peak AI euphoria, what is the catalyst that starts to sort of pop the bubble? And this is, look, people have been studying this question for decades now.
Right.
What causes bubbles to pop? The energy question is kind of interesting because one thing you and I were talking about was if they can't get the energy to build these data centers, all these projects that OpenAI is investing in, they could be for naught, really.
Well, some of it just gets at the speed, right? So, the AI is moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and the energy industry is moving at 5 miles an hour. And so that's just a problem. And so, they'll build the power over time, but not as fast as, the tech world moves. And so, yeah, that could be an issue. What makes things pop? It's always an accumulated bunch of factors that make things pop. And there's a huge amount of tailwinds that are going to keep pushing it forward. But, all I was pointing out was, there were these transactions and these reactions that just don't make any sense.
Right.
And, things can not make sense for a long time. We've seen that for years. And so it's going to be an accumulated group of
Right.
factors, maybe energy, maybe some companies not being able to raise the money they say. I mean, OpenAI is going to burn, $100 billion. And
Yeah.
so maybe they can't do that anymore. And then that slows things down. And it's going to be just a bunch of things, and people are going to start to like sober up a little bit.
Well, what about all these renewable energy sources that we hear about? And, we hear of even longer off bets, like we've had nuclear companies on the show, for example. I mean, do you get any sense that these newer emerging technologies could at all satisfy the AI demand?
Well, look, 90% of the new US power generation last year and this year was solar and wind. That has been solar, especially, is the cheapest form of energy and the quickest to deploy. And when you pair it up with batteries, it can be effective for running data centers. So that, but the problem is, the Trump administration has been pushing back against renewables and putting tariffs on the gear, and so it's hard. And then the gas generation is just, there's plenty of gas, but the generators, the turbines they got to be built.
Right.
So the renewable energy would be the quick way to do it, and people are using it. But it is, it has headwinds that it didn't have,
Right.
or last year.
And is there also sort of a debt component to this story? Because one of the comments that we had an analyst yesterday on the show, he was talking about how Oracle finances building this capacity for its cloud business, and he pointed out, he said, "Look, the company's burning cash right now, so they might look to raise debt." How should we be thinking about the debt side of the story? What should we be watching for?
Yeah, yeah. You've heard me rant about this, right? Like, the tech world usually doesn't use a lot of debt, right? It uses equity and VC money and all that. And this is a capital intensive business, AI. And so there's a lot of debt. And the problem with debt is you got to pay it back. And so there's strict deadlines, and it's, you if you're not generating cash, you can keep borrowing, but no one's going to keep lending you money if you're not paying it back. And if there's no sign you're going to pay it back. And so that can cut you off. And so Oracle's going to have to do that. A bunch of these other data center operators, CoreWeave is, buried in debt. It may all work out, right? They may grow fast enough, they may generate cash, and they may be able to pay it back. But that's a real risk, because that gets at the timing of this, right? You don't have forever, because you have to pay back the debt.
Right, right. Okay. Well, yeah. Once time comes into the picture. Right now, there are no deadlines really. It's just you could put out 5-year projections like it's nothing. But you are right that once debt comes into the picture, then somebody is coming to you and saying, "Hey, where is it? Where's the money?" So
We've all had car loans and credit card loans and all that, and it's the same for big companies.
right, right. Well, big cars. All right. Well, Ken, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about it. That is Ken Brown, our senior finance editor at The Information. Okay, let's get to our next guest. Well, Hinge Health is newly navigating life as a public company. The company debuted its shares on the stock market earlier this year, and it is going pretty well. Shares are up about 40%. The company has a digital platform that helps people with musculoskeletal disorders, and it is also moving into the wearable space. The company is now worth more than $4 billion, and I want to bring on CEO Dan Perez to talk about what he is building. Dan, welcome to TITV. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Akash.
So, for people who aren't familiar, just talk to us about what the disorder is that Hinge Health is trying to solve and what you've built as a solution.
Well, great question. So look, our aim is to use technology to scale and automate the delivery of care. And if you think about healthcare overall, despite all the technology, all the money that goes into healthcare, it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry in the US, it is remarkably manual. It is
Right.
very much a services industry. When people complain about healthcare costs, when people talk about how it's a relentless drive up, it's because it really hasn't been automated. And we're tackling orthopedics, essentially back, joint, and muscle pain in healthcare. And for most employers and health plans, it's the number one or number two largest cost driver. Think about knee replacements, back surgeries, knee arthroscopies, MRIs, twisted knees. These things add up, and it's about 1 in 6 healthcare dollars for our customers is spent on orthopedic care.
Right.
And then we're using technology to focus on physical therapy initially. And
Right.
we've automated away about 95% of human clinician hours associated with PT. And we want to keep marching in healthcare, continue to use technology to automate more aspects of healthcare.
And so your platform, is it like pre-recorded content that you sort of package together in personalized plans, or are people actually talking to a physical therapist digitally through telemedicine?
Great question. So we have multiple options. So every single person who we onboard onto our program has their own care team. So we firmly believe in having, human-powered care teams as well.
Okay.
So has their own physical therapist. We also have health coaches. We have access to doctors. We have access to nurses. And our technology, however, is able to automate most of the interactions as they go through their program, and that makes it a lot more convenient for the member. That makes it much lower cost. Makes it a lot
Like
more
automating
personal.
interaction. What does that mean?
Well, when you come onto the program, we're able to create a custom care plan for you, and you're
Okay.
able to do your exercise therapy, whether it's at 2 a.m. in the morning or 2 p.m. in the day. You don't have to worry about copays. You don't have to worry about setting up an appointment. If at any time you want to speak to a physical therapist, you could speak to a physical therapist. But most of our members could just go right through using just our software as they guide them through their exercise therapy
Got
or
it.
the digital physical therapy right from home. And we use computer vision. So we use the front-facing camera on your phone to track 100 unique landmarks on your body. And
Okay,
that
so
allows
they
us
set up the camera, and then the camera kind of studies how you're doing the movement, and then it coaches you saying, "Well, lift your arm up that way or this way."
exactly. We'll take you through your rehab for your back pain,
Right,
for your elbow pain, for your
right.
knee pain, and we know exactly what your range of motion was. We could track every rep, every exercise, and give you live feedback. We have higher fidelity than what you will see in an in-person physical therapy clinic in terms
Right,
of
right.
the data we're able to collect. We're able to help you track your progress over time. And so the number of exercise therapy sessions that people do on Hinge Health in a year is well over 30. And I think it'd be very hard pressed for the average person who starts in-person physical therapy to do 35 plus in-person physical therapy sessions. So our
I,
adherence is much higher.
I'm going to jump in here because one of the most fascinating parts of your business is that you are selling to health plans and to employers. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, we've seen this AI boom, and a lot of healthcare companies are trying to take advantage of that. As you're talking to health plans, how are they thinking about AI? And has that changed the nature of your conversation or your pitch to them? Or are they saying, yeah, we don't really know about this?
Well, it's a great point. Look, most of us expect our health insurance to kick in for healthcare. Even with a $150, $200 PT appointment, we expect maybe we'll pay a $25
Yeah.
copay, but we expect health insurance to kick in. And so, as a technology company playing in healthcare, we have to sell to enterprise customers, employers, and health insurance companies, and they are cautious around AI. Technology is moving a lot faster than the regulations are moving. And health insurance companies, and employers tend to be more cautious. And rightfully so. If you're,
So
if you're
they're not buying it. When you say, "Hey, we've got this AI powered solution," they're not
no, they are.
immediately.
They are buying it. They want to learn more. It's not like, if you're building an AI tool in design or you're building an AI, a coding software tool in AI, you could launch a bunch of features. Some might stick, some might not. In healthcare, the stakes are a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And so they want to understand, well, what is your approach to AI? How does your AI work? And there's going to be more questions. And if you're building an AI company or an AI company in healthcare, and you're trying to sell to enterprise customers, there's going to be a higher performance barrier for you to demonstrate the safety of your product. We've been very lucky to do that. Our computer vision. Computer vision is actually a subfield of AI, and we've been working on this well before even ChatGPT was launched. So we knew that AI was coming to healthcare, and it needs to come to healthcare, because if you do not automate healthcare, we will not lower costs in healthcare.
So are they asking for like more data? Then if the bar is higher, are they asking for more evidence that
Absolutely. Well,
AI is not.
or whether and AI is one type of technology, but yeah, any way that your technology is delivering care, they want to better understand if a human is not in the loop, or if the AI is, or the technology is making decisions on behalf of of a patient's care.
Yeah.
What have you done to safeguard this? What are you doing? What sort of oversight is there? What is your track record? Now we're very lucky that we have over now 1.5 million people who've been treated by our program, so we have a very, very good track record.
Right.
But yeah, if you are building a company, an AI company in healthcare that's going to actually treat patients, not just some back office software that's just automating operations, you should better understand, like, how might this go wrong. right?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
will you ensure that people are going to be safe because the stakes are simply higher if in healthcare?
So you've also got this wearables device, which is so
Yeah.
fascinating to me. I kind of want to ask you about the decision to do something in wearables because, look, you're a public company, your margins are great. They're like software company margins right now. Wearables is a really hard business, and so why do you need to do wearables at all?
Well, look, we are committed to automating healthcare delivery itself, right? There's a lot of technology in healthcare, usually on the periphery. Most healthcare delivery is still one-on-one with the provider. I firmly believe that software will soon automate all non-touch aspects of healthcare. Think about like,
So AI is
like,
replacing non-touch doctors. That's what you're saying.
oh, cognitive aspects of healthcare. Any aspect of healthcare that involves, just thinking about it. Look, here's your symptoms, and I'm interpreting your symptoms. That's pattern recognition. That is an LLM could do that very well. I'm evaluating your labs and trying to interpret your labs and what this means and what this might, what might be the implications of your labs. That's cognitive. That could absolutely be done by AI. But there's a lot of touch aspects of healthcare that still require, moving things about or connected hardware. And if if you're committed to automating healthcare, you're going to have to think about connected hardware as well, so you could automate the touch aspects. So this is actually our connected hardware. It's about the size of a $50. It's a pain management device.
Yeah, I've seen
And
you can
it
put
is
you stick it on your neck or your shoulder, whatever, and then
anywhere exactly, and delivers electrical nerve stimulation directly through the body. Gives our
right.
patients a non-surgical, non-invasive, non-addictive way for their pain relief. We have about
Right.
15 patents. We're going to be filing, 5 or so
It's
more.
FDA approved as well.
And it's FDA approved as well.
Right.
And FDA cleared, and which we're really excited about. And we've invested quite a bit into this device, and we're investing in more hardware. And I think if you're a healthcare company, and particularly if you're unlocking enterprise reimbursements, you could still have robust margins so long as your outcomes are really good, because the price points in healthcare are actually a lot higher than price points in other areas of the industry.
So I just want to go back to software will automate all non-touch aspects of healthcare.
It already is.
That's
Absolutely.
right. So that's sort of the rationale for building a wearables device. But I guess my question is, so what do you see the role of the doctor then going forward if software is doing some of that cognitive work that you say they do right now?
It's a great question. It is. If I was a pre-med student in undergrad right now, considering a career in medicine, I would think the advice I'm getting from the old guard or from 20-year veterans would be somewhat stale advice in many ways, because the world is changing very, very fast. And we're
So what's your advice then? What do you advise them?
well, to be eyes wide open. The world is moving towards automation. The AI, Hinge Health and digital health companies, we are not happening to healthcare. The future is happening to healthcare, and it's happening a lot faster than it's ever happened before. Healthcare in the past has been somewhat ignored from technology's automation.
Yeah.
Technology's automated and improved and streamlined a lot of other industries, and has not really touched healthcare. And now healthcare it's coming for healthcare, and AI is coming for healthcare. And I think patients will soon be demanding more AI, because AI is showing that it can often be a little bit more accurate
Right.
than human doctors in terms of interpreting symptoms. And so I think doctors, their roles will change, and where they're adding most value will change.
And I got to let you go, but I just do riff with me here for a second.
Sure.
Let's think. So what is the doctor-patient experience, and it'll change, but how? What is the future of the doctor visit look like then?
We're gonna see progressively more automation in healthcare.
Okay, so I don't even go to the doctor's office.
So, well, I think you'll still go to the doctor's office. It's going to be really, really hard to automate a lot of physical aspects of healthcare, these unstructured physical tasks. Imagine like something as low risk as an ingrown toenail. We do not have a robot that could do that. Your family medicine doctor, an internal medicine doctor or a pediatrician still gonna have to do that sort of procedure. And so there are plenty of we don't have a robot that could draw blood anymore, or at all yet. And so you have a technician in your clinic who's gonna have to do that. So there's many touch aspects of healthcare. It's gonna take us many, many years to automate. But look, LASIK is a surgery. I think that's 95% delivered by a robot today.
So,
and it has
be a
highest
surgeon, I
satisfaction.
guess. That's what I'm hearing. Be a surgeon. Everyone going to med school.
Robotic surgeries are
I
coming.
know. Yeah. Well,
coming for us
so
right
then
now.
specialize in getting the ingrown toenails. So maybe that's maybe
I
that's
don't
the
know. Those
answer.
aren't the most glamorous parts of healthcare,
Yeah,
but I
they're
would say
not being
I'm not
automated. So
I can't. I don't have a crystal ball, but I know it's changing. I still firmly believe there is a role for human providers in healthcare for a long time, working with technology. I think doctors who don't understand AI and are not embracing technology, I think will struggle in the future. Doctors who do embrace technology, who do learn how to embed technology into their day-to-day practice,
Right.
will be augmented and will become some of the best clinicians. And I think that's true of designers. If you're a designer and a really good designer, and you use AI, you will become a great designer. If you're a designer or not so good of a designer and don't embrace AI, you will be rendered obsolete.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the case, not just for doctors, but for design, for eng, for product management, for sales roles. It's gonna change all of our jobs.
Right.
It's exciting.
Well, Dan, thank you
worried.
so much for coming on the show. It's a fascinating business, and I do want to talk to you more about the wearables business next time you come on, because I think there's a lot to talk about where that business could go and what % of your business it could become. But that is for another discussion. That is Dan Perez, the CEO of Hinge Health, his first time on TITV. Okay. Our next guest sold his e-commerce fulfillment company to Shopify for $2.5 billion. It was a big exit, but that was 3 years ago. Now, Harish Abbott is back in the founder's seat building an AI logistics company called Augment. The company has raised $110 million in 5 months from big-name venture capitalists like Redpoint Ventures and 8VC. I want to bring on Harish to talk about where he wants to take this company. Harish, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. I was listening to your previous segment. I think I need one of those devices. I just hurt my back this morning working out.
Oh my gosh. Well, what exercises are you doing? Give us the secrets.
I think it was, I was doing some bench presses and I think I did not position myself well. So
Oh man, it was, you got to keep the feet planted on the floor. That's the key. What is it? Keep the back arch. I don't know. I gotta ask my brother. He's the lifter in the family. Okay. But let's talk about another big lift, which is the business of logistics. It's a meaty topic. Before we get into that, I do want to ask you, you sold your company for $2.5 billion to Shopify. Okay. Why are you doing? I'm like, you don't need to do this. Why are you doing this now?
I think I love building, and you kind of like do things that you enjoy most. And this is what I enjoy most, which is building. I think two is AI is probably the most transformative technology I've seen
Okay.
in my lives. And I was like, this is like one time we can marry it with an industry that has been so resistant to
Could
technology.
be even more than 2.5 billion. Could be 3.5. Who knows?
I mean, I think it's like less about money is not going to change the lifestyle.
Right.
It is more about like, can we have a meaningful impact here?
Right.
That badly needs it. It's so vital. And just the joy of building,
So you talked about AI being an opportunity, and I'm with you. But a lot of times when we talk to VCs, they say, "Hey, it's not about the product; it's about the problem." And so, what I want to know from you is, what is the problem that got you so energized to come back and be a founder? It's not easy. It was, with any amount of money. What is the problem that you're addicted to right now?
Yeah. See, logistics is very large and it's also extremely fragmented, right? Like in the US alone, there is 1 million truck driving companies. There are maybe tens of thousands of brokers in freight. There are hundreds of thousands of shippers. So it's an extremely fragmented industry.
Right.
Multiple people have to touch something, multiple companies for like that coffee mug that you have on your table to get where it is at, maybe 15 to 20 companies.
Right.
So when an industry is so fragmented, but in order to move goods, they have to trade information.
Yeah.
But the industry is so fragmented that the only way that is common among all these people is emails and phone calls and text.
Okay.
All of those methods are both asynchronous, but they're all low bandwidth.
And this is like, hey, what's the update on where this freight, where this cargo is, essentially?
Now I can plan my labor. I can schedule my appointments. Then I can schedule my next thing that needs to go out of this warehouse. Everybody needs to know the updates. Everybody needs to know where a truck is at, where the inventory is at, how much inventory is coming. Is a container late on a port?
Okay.
You can plan the next thing. And imagine there's a chain of 20 companies that have to coordinate for that little, water flask that you have on your table.
Yeah.
And one of them is late, and there's a whipsaw effect. And so what that does, it creates lots of inefficiency, lots of waste, because I have my labor plan, but I don't know if that container is going to come on time.
Right.
And, and this is massive industry. So when you multiply that across all the participants, just the
Right.
waste in this industry is very large. So that's what got me excited. Like, could we bring this waste down? Could we make this industry more efficient than the status quo?
Okay. So that's the problem. Now, your business and the product, I think the first product is called Augie is the name of the product, short for Augment. So how is that different from a company like Flexport?
Yeah. So Augie is like, the first product is like an employee. It's an AI teammate. It looks and feels no different than a remote employee.
It's like an assistant.
Yes, your assistant. It sits
Okay.
it sits on your Teams. It has an email. It even has a text message. But behind the scenes, it can do work of thousands of people 24/7 and take off all the tedious, repetitive, mundane work that today is drowning the operators in this business. And if I take those away, I'm freeing up the operators to do more creative work, more relationship work. And so that's the first product. Like, hey, Augie, be this assistant to every person in logistics, every operator in logistics, make them thrice as more productive. So now they can focus on more important problems versus chasing emails and documents and text and calls and whatnot.
Do you see something like one of the things that we've covered at the Information is the cyclicality of the logistics sector? And look, I haven't been following the space for very long. We have seen cyclicality, at least since the pandemic. Has it always been a cyclical business? Is this just a sort of a last 5 years thing with the supply chain crunch? Do you see your product being able to help with something like that at all? Or is that sort of a broader systemic issue?
Yeah. So this industry's always been cyclical because of this high degree of fragmentation and no barriers to entry. When there's high demand, multiple participants come in this industry. So if if there's high demand, a truck driver says, I want to start driving the truck. And soon enough, there's many, many truck drivers. That brings the prices of the truck go down. And then some drivers sort of move out of the business. And this cycle continues. Now, COVID clearly was, like a cyclicality that was beyond like a normal cyclical stage. So it went up, the demand went up at a stage. And so the prices went up and the amount of people that came into logistics was very, very high. And it's now the last 4 years have been really tough on this industry because since then the prices have been depressed and slowly the supply is going out of the market, but it's not entirely there yet. Where companies like ours can help is that, as you go into a cyclical industry where you have ups and downs and you are like hiring and then maybe potentially attriting people through these cycles with AI teammates, you may not have to do all of that, right? If your demand goes up by 50%, you may only need to hire 10 to 20% and then let AI do most of the other work.
I see. So you see it potentially helping smoothen out profitability for these companies because they won't have to upsize or downsize their businesses as drastically.
Exactly. And I think so it will bring more predictability to their bottom lines, their P&Ls, because now they can rely on, almost somebody with an infinite capacity like Augie or Augment to take on the work when the demand goes up.
Right. Okay. So my last question for you is, I'm gonna read through a bit of your resume here because you've got a stunning track record of people buying your businesses. Okay, you started a business called Eugenie.com. It was sold to Lulu.com. That was number one. Then you founded Symphony Commerce. It was acquired by Quantum Retail. Then you founded Deliver. It was sold to Shopify. And so you're at it for the fourth time. My question is, who is going to buy Augment?
Well, listen, like as a builder, you hope, your businesses outlast you, and so I'm building Augment so that it outlasts me, outlasts people who are building it. It's a generational company that potentially goes public.
Right. But I mean, refer to me here. I mean, who could potential acquirers be if we think about that?
I really haven't thought about that. I honestly been thinking about building an independent business, but very large software companies, you've got companies like SAP, you've got companies like, then you have new generation companies like, Salesforce and others. I think they all need fairly deep agentic strategies, and they're all going to attempt to get it their own way. And then startups like ours who are going to attempt at getting their own way. Time will tell who will win and who will, we are just obsessed about like making our customers happy and delighting them. And I think everything takes care once you do that.
Right. Well, great. Harish, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I hope that your back feels a little bit better. Maybe Hinge Health might have some advice for you. We could put you in touch with Dan Perez. Maybe he can help out with that. That is Harish Abbott, the CEO of Augment.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, there's been a lot of chatter about San Francisco and whether or not it can regain its buzz post-pandemic. Earlier this week, Jessica Lessin, our editor-in-chief, sat down for a conversation with her friend Julia Hartz, the CEO of Eventbrite, to discuss the San Francisco event scene and why Eventbrite is betting big on creators, and also what the upcoming StubHub IPO signals about the market. Here is that conversation with Julia Hartz and Jessica Lessin.
Thank you, Akash. And I'm so excited to be here with Julia Hartz, the CEO and co-founder of Eventbrite. Julia, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jess. How are you?
I am great. It's the start of fall, and I feel like I'm getting invited to a bunch of stuff, which means it's event season. So wanted to I'm probably not getting invited to that much stuff, but it feels like, especially in our home city of San Francisco, the market is, we're all back to live events. So good time to check in on all the things that you're seeing. So thank you again for being on TITV.
Thank you for having me.
So let's actually start with a little hard news. So we have coming up in the next week or so, the StubHub IPO.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? You've been one of several live events businesses on the public markets for more time now. There are new people coming, eyeing the opportunity. Is this an interesting moment, an interesting test of live events in the public markets, or what are you seeing from that front?
I think that it's signaling interest and resilience in the live events industry, which is a great secular tailwind for all of us. I think there's few public scaled live events companies, and we listed on the New York Stock Exchange in 2018. I think particularly for StubHub and for fans, this will be a great time for them to up their transparency, particularly around fees for consumers, which I think will be a great thing for the industry overall. And, I think it's a great signal for the live events economy. And to your point, it's vibrant, it's booming, it's really driven by consumers making this cultural shift of wanting to get out from behind their screens and seek more of a screen life balance by connecting, with their passions that they're cultivating online, but offline in the real world.
Yeah. And I feel like the narrative was this huge boom post-pandemic because we remembered we could see people again.
Yeah.
And then I think it's been like, what has the trend been since then? Obviously at Eventbrite, you've been focused and made good strides on the operational side, but how is demand kind of netting out post that, oh wait, we can see people again?
Well, I think that yes, there was this big boom, this big pop of, oh wow, we didn't know what we missed until it was taken away, and this big fervor around going out to every live event you could possibly imagine. And now we see the shift happening in much more in line actually with the online world where, in this fragmented digital age, which very much about, I think that people are really looking to turn their niche identities into what they do offline. So they're seeking these offline connections with communities that are truly unique and not necessarily mainstream. So I'm talking, curated lifestyle rituals, fandom-driven culture, aspirational escapes.
What's curated lifestyle? I know fandom.
Yeah.
Curated lifestyle.
Yeah.
Is this like group meditation?
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, I could talk about this all day long. So, particularly Gen Z, who we obsess about all day long, they are seeking out ways to create the antidote to their digital exhaustion. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Granny core is on the rise. Granny core activities like mahjong, knitting clubs, silent book clubs, where people are getting together to actually read the book in silence rather than discuss the book they didn't read. Those are up massively on the platform. Similarly, we've coined the term soft clubbing, which has really gained some traction as of late, because in nightlife, we're seeing less Gen Zers going out to drink, but they still want to go out and club. So they're finding ways to get together without necessarily like the hard clubbing vibe. So we're seeing coffee clubbing events up, morning raves up.
And then along I hear, never been to one, but here they're the new hotness, or maybe
you're really missing out.
Yeah, I'll never join a run club. Okay, so you're seeing so all of this is sort of weathered that post-pandemic changed. What are you? And you're leaning into live experiences. You've actually got a new live subsidiary. Can you talk about that?
Yes. So we recently announced the formation of a wholly owned subsidiary called Bright House. And this is our step into transforming entertainment by partnering with beloved IP to create immersive experiences. The unique benefit of this is that it's a startup within Eventbrite, but has the scale of what we know around live experiences. Our company has been around for almost 2 decades. We've been in the business of democratizing live events. And with over 4 million creators and 2 billion tickets sold in our history, we know what it takes to put on a great event, and we know what consumers are looking for. So we're hoping to pair the expertise of Zoe Tan, who is the founder and CEO of Bright House and has been in the immersive experiences industry for 15 years, with the experience of Eventbrite and our connection to creators and consumers, and work together to bring better event programming to cities and really think creatively about how we can transition those online or media-related passions into offline experiences that stoke passion and connection. And ultimately,
what Netflix is doing with Bridgerton. Am I like
that's it? You're in the neighborhood. Yeah. Yes. And I think Eventbrite, what's unique about us is that we have a line on what happens in the mid-market too. So I really think that type of niche interest and what I was talking about, consumers really wanting to connect with, is right in line with our wheelhouse. And we're able to do this at scale and profitably. So more to come. Again, it's a startup, but I'm really excited about bridging content to technology in ways that make people's lives better, and also give us an opportunity to create indelible memories, which I think that's what, humans are seeking.
What is the business model broadly for you around it?
Yeah, so we think about Bright House as a power creator on the Eventbrite platform. So not only do we benefit from the data that we have in terms of ticketing and consumer trends of where people want to go, but we also are creating the content. We have different ways of thinking about how we'll bring that content to life. And it's a little bit too early to tell which direction we'll take. But again, we're looking at IP-related content, things that have natural built-in fandoms, as well as our own proprietary creation. We recently hosted a cheese rave in Brooklyn, which was massively popular. And it brought together 2 passions that we saw through our data mining and our what we call culture drops, which are the ways in which we can see what people want to do and bringing that to life. And we mashed them up together and brought it to life, which gave us a really clear signal that people want to be at these types of events.
So let's for a second imagine an information fan experience, right? I don't know what you're doing. You're trading meme coins,
Yeah, you're trading. You're being documented by Sam Lessin in your every move. There's like a photo booth.
Photo booth would be good.
There's like a whisper booth where you're whispering what you've heard about the industry.
An anonymous tips booth. And great swag. I think this is great. And then as our weekend section, given that of our reader survey, which again is skewed by the people who respond, had more than 50%, I believe 54% of information readers who responded to our survey are on Ozempic. So isn't that stunning?
I mean, I'd have to think about the experiential element there, but that is stunning. I would maybe wait until the pill form is available, until you bring it into your immersive experience. Might make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, of course.
You have to get.
We're joking, people. Doctors. Anyway, but I think, I mean, it's a silly thing I'm saying, but I think your point, right, is that brands and digital brands are and need to be thinking about those immersive experiences.
Oh my gosh, we just ran a survey that said 95%. So let's just say all for purposes of Gen Z want to connect with the things that they love in real life. They're begging for it. Brands are looking to create their connection with consumers and build their identity through these experiences. And I have to say, Jess, what you do with the fall women's event is incredibly immersive. So, you're already like halfway there.
Yes. And we should say Julia's been a great friend of the event and moderator in the past. And we're excited for October 28th and 29th of this year. So
it's a great event.
Okay. Well, before I let you go, let's talk about San Francisco for a second. You love San Francisco. You lived here a long time, immersed in the culture. When people outside of the city, they're like, what's going on? Is San Francisco back? From your vantage point and from having that bottoms up event data, what's going on in San Francisco?
I mean, in 2024, San Francisco gathered 4.5 times. So we saw over 4 million San Francisco residents attend events on Eventbrite alone. I think that's showing that people are getting out. They're gathering. I'm going to be incredibly bullish on this and happy to take the helm here on this bullish view. It would be incredibly short-sighted and potentially idiotic to vote against San Francisco coming back in terms of what you think is actually going to happen.
I don't know what we're coming back. I mean, I feel like we're back.
I'm taking more of a conservative view that our back is going to be better than ever. The combination of, Silicon Valley, just simply put, being the innovation capital of the world. And that's not an exclusive statement. That's just saying that the density of talent and innovation here is unparalleled, coupled with strong engagement from residents who have lived through the tough time, didn't leave, didn't abandon ship, stayed here, stayed engaged, and are rebuilding this city block by block. Like, that is a potent combination. And then you get the wrapper around that, which has been in the works for years, but some pretty major global events coming through in sports and entertainment. Like, this is absolutely a time to bet on San Francisco. Yeah.
I know, I'll be belying once again my tennis fandom, but I'm very excited for the Laver Cup just to be starting in a week. An amazing tennis tournament. We'll have Carlos Alcaraz in the Chase Center. So excited. Not to mention that thing called the Super Bowl coming as well. So,
and the World Cup.
And the World Cup. I get confused about the World Cup, to be honest, because it's everywhere, right? I don't.
Well, but we're one of the key cities, which is huge.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So before we wrap, let's talk about the Super Bowl for a second, because you have your posts on Gen Z, culture, everything, and Taylor Swift. I am an event expert. Do you think Taylor Swift will be playing in the Bay Area Super Bowl February 2026?
Well, I live in a house full of Swifties. I have 4 daughters.
You are also and 2 of your daughters are too young to be Swifties, but
no, they're automatic. But I do think that if Vegas had a line on it, Swift at the Super Bowl 60 is basically even money. I think that I would push it over, and I'm going to tell you, like, if you're a betting person, I don't know that you're putting it all on yes.
Okay,
but I do think I'm going to give you 3 very insider clues as to why I believe it's absolutely happening. Now, you already heard how bullish I am on San Francisco, so let's use that as the baseline. But our I'm sure you listened to the entire podcast, the New Heights podcast, all 2 hours of it.
No, I did. Over 3 days, but I did.
Okay, yeah. So there were 3 signals. The first, sourdough. Sourdough is basically Taylor's new secret love language. And she said she thinks about bread 60% of the time. Do you think that was just a random stat? No, because this is Super Bowl 60.
Okay.
And San Francisco's mascot is Sourdough Sam.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that. That's 1.
That's clear.
2, that's very clear. 2, remember Taylor thanking Jason for screaming for 47 seconds.
Ooh, no, I don't remember that because like those people, I was just watching it, but yes.
Okay, well, the Swifties know that 47 is not also a mistake or an accident because her 47th Eras Tour show was at Levi Stadium.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'm going to give you a final one. Just, you don't even need it because we've basically created a fan breadcrumb trail to the to the Super Bowl. The final one is that this is likely Travis's last season, 13th season. Now, there's no telling whether or not he'll be playing at it, but I think the combination of the NFL era of Swiftiness plus the commercial value of this moment is too good to pass up. And so I'm going to take the over on this and say, absolutely, she's coming to San Francisco.
There you go. So if the San Francisco scene, oh my gosh, I forgot the Benson Boone concert next October 1st. I'm just, Jessica doesn't get out much. The fact that between all of these things, there's so much happening, I think is a telling sign about events in this moment. So, well, Julia, thank you for being our guide through the pop culture and the public markets, as always. We will be watching and seeing what you guys do, especially with the new business. So thank you again for joining us.
Great to see you.
That was Eventbrite CEO Julia Hartz with our editor-in-chief, Jessica Lessin. Okay, well, that does it for today's show. A reminder that we are live on this stream Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I want to thank Amazon Web Services, who is our presenting sponsor for this production. And I want to thank you for tuning in. We really do appreciate your viewership. I'm already excited for our next show tomorrow. And so until then, bye-bye for now.